Okay, we're on page Lamed Hey. Siv Zayin. I think we start again, 4 lines into the ice, so move on Geidel HaChiddush. We're talking about Alter Rebbe's Chiddush, that the name Tzvais refers to the Achdus of the Eibishter in the world of Biyah. Generally speaking, all the names of Hashem refer to the Achdus of Hashem that exists in Atzilus. Here, the Alter Rebbe tells us that the Achdus of Hashem carries into the world of Biyah as well, and that's what name Tzvais represents. So the Rebbe brought it from the Tzemach Tzedek that this is the Alter Rebbe's Chiddush. It doesn't say this earlier in Sifrei Kabbalah. So let's continue inside, in Eis Zayin. Move on Geidel HaChiddush va'ilui d'shem Tzvais. It's understood what the great Chiddush here is, and the greatness of the name Tzvais. Shenas al yidei avodas b'nei Yisrael. It's accomplished through the avodah of Yidden. K'may Yisrael hem b'mayim u'dematzav d'zman ha'neviim. And specifically in what time period? When Yidden are in the times of the Nevi'im, la'achrei hazman d'pnei Moshe k'pnei Chama, much later than the time period of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is compared to the light of the sun, a direct revelation, a direct light. And more specifically, this refers to the times of Yidden in the latest Nevi'im, which lived in the time of the end of the first Beis HaMikdash, including the time of the Churban itself, and in the time of the beginning of Golus. And also the Aveda of Yidden following that time period, which is the Aveda of Golus, and the Aveda that during Golus, which we are in now. So through this Aveda we reveal that even in the lower worlds of Biyah, when you look at them alone, they are seen as separate creations. The idea of Iyuv who Batzilus, as it's mentioned in Zohar, that's mentioned regarding Atzilus, which is Olam HaAchdus. Atzilus is a place of unity. So even here in Biyah, it should be Iyuv K'may Batzilus, like an Atzilus. So let me just again clarify this concept of K'may Batzilus. The Rebbe keeps on repeating this expression. K'may Batzilus. Obviously, Biyah will never be like Atzilus, in the sense of that in Atzilus there is no Aveda L'Chatchila to create that Achdus. That is what the entity of Atzilus is. In Biyah, you come to a place where there is a nifrad, where there is a separation, and a Yid through his Aveda has to introduce the Achdus of Hashem. That's number one. Number two, when the Rebbe says K'may Batzilus, the word of K'may Batzilus means that the recognition of Hashem should be in the same way as Atzilus, in one nekuda, in one most important nekuda. Just like in Atzilus, the recognition of Hashem, the Achdus of Hashem, is mitzad the world itself. It's not that the world is a nifrad, and then we bring this other revelation that overwhelms or is mevatel Atzilus. That is what Atzilus itself is. The point of revealing the Achdus of the Eibishter in the world is to bring not only the presence of Hashem into the world, but bring it and integrate it into the Metzius of the world. To reveal that this is the Metzius of the world itself. That's the Ikon Nekuda that K'may Batzilus means. But of course, the Rebbe is not saying over here that Biyah is Atzilus, Biyah becomes Atzilus. It's not that Biyah becomes Atzilus. Biyah remains Biyah. Each world has its own reality. Each world is completely separated from the world before. They're separate places, they're different realities. The point of K'may Batzilus is that there's a certain nekuda that there is an Atzilus, that the Metzius of Atzilus itself is a Elokus. In the same way, Elokus should be connected to the worlds below, to discover how the world itself expresses the Eibishter, expresses the unity of Hashem. Shloimar, the Rebbe goes back to the Gemara. This gives us a deeper understanding. In the Psaktin that we hold by, Shetzvais Hu Shem Kodesh. That Tzvais is one of the 7 holy names. But nevertheless, the name that Hashem has, Tzvais, Where does that name come from? Al Shem Tzvois Shaloi. The Eibish's name of Tzvois is because of his relationship to his legions, and who is that? Al Shem Yisrael, connected to Yidden. Because Yidden are called in this week's Parsha, Parshas Boy, with the name Tzvois, so the Eibishter has the name Tzvois based on the Yidden. So the point here is that, if you remember, we learned this, I think, earlier in the Maamar, that there's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. There's a machlekes in the Gemara if Tzvois is a holy name or it's just another title that we use for Hashem, but it's not one of the holy names that may not be erased. Rabbi Yossi's opinion is that it's a title. Why is it a title? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, the name Tzvois really refers to Yidden. Elamai, the Eibishter is connected to Yidden, so therefore the name Tzvois is also a title for the Eibishter. But it's mitzad Eibishter's relationship to Yidden. It's not a title of the Eibishter himself. Now the Tanna Kama, the Rabbana that disagree and say that it's a holy name. When you learn the simple pshat of the Gemara, you would think the pshat is, they disagree to the whole premise. They say, no, the name Tzvois has nothing to do with the Yidden. The name Tzvois shows on the greatness of Hashem. It's not associated to Yidden. It's one of his holy names, and therefore it may not be erased. So the Rebbe here is being machadish. The Rebbe is saying that's not the pshat in the machlokes. Everybody agrees to the premise that Tzvois is different than the rest of the names. The other names of the Eibishter are his names. They're titles that are given for him. This is a name that comes from the fact that Yidden have the term Tzivos Havaya or Tzivaisam Tzivaseichem, and therefore the Eibishter is also referred to as Tzvois. Now, the argument is, when you have a name that's based on a name that comes from Yidden, could that be a holy name that's not erased? Rabbi Yossi says no, because it's not describing the Eibishter himself. And the Rabbanan say, although it's a name that comes from the Yidden, still the Yidden accomplish that this name could be a holy name as well that shouldn't be erased. That's the way to learn the Gemara. The fact that Tzvois is a holy name, and as we explained, what does that refer to? The holiness of Hashem in the worlds of Biyah. That even in the worlds of Biyah, the unity of Hashem should be recognized there. This is accomplished through the Aveda of Yidden. Biyah is not a place naturally that has that kind of an achdus, that could reveal and express Hashem in that kind of a way. It's only through the Aveda of Yidden, Torah mitzvahs, and we'll see later in the Maamar, the Rebbe will talk more details, which Aveda, that Yidden could reveal this kind of achdus of Hashem in Biyah as well. So it's a name that's caused by Yidden. Everybody agrees to that. There's a chiddush with this name. It's caused by Yidden. But the Tanna Kama says that although it's caused by Yidden, but you draw the true reality of Hashem and the true identity of Hashem into Biyah as well. And therefore it can be a holy name like the other holy names. There's another nekudah that the Rebbe says in a Sikha. This Maamar, parts of this Maamar are in a Sikha in Chelik Lamed Vav Parshas Boy, this week's Parsha. I believe it's the second Sikha in Chelik Lamed Vav. So if you want to see certain details that are not spelled out in this Maamar, it's in a Sikha in Chelik Lamed Vav. There the Rebbe explains the other way around according to Rabbi Yossi. When Rabbi Yossi's opinion, which is that it's not a holy name, so there's two ways how to understand the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. And the Rebbe brings various sources for this. One way how to understand the opinion of Rabbi Yossi is that the name Tzvois is not a name of Hashem at all. Just like you have other titles that sometimes are used Legabe the Eibishter, but it's not one of his names. You can take any title that you use for anything and apply it to Hashem. Tzvois is not a holy name whatsoever, and therefore it's a name that could be erased. It's not Hashem's name. But the Rebbe says in the Gemara, it's mashma that Rabbi Yossi agrees to the premise of the Rabbanan, that it is one of the names of Hashem. Elamai, it doesn't have the same stringency. It's not on the same level as the rest of the names, and it may be erased. Which means that you look at this whole chiddush of the Maamar, and you may think that everything we're talking about here is only according to the Tanna Kama, and Rabbi Yossi disagrees. You can't draw the achdus of Hashem into Biyah. It's not the same, and therefore Rabbi Yossi says it's not a holy name. The Rebbe says, no, Rabbi Yossi also agrees that it's a holy name. Elamai, sof, it's not on the same level as the rest of the holy names, and therefore it may be erased. Right? So it's similar, for example, to titles like Hagodol, Hagibor, V'Hanoira, which are names that we use specifically for the Eibishter. Even though theoretically you could use it with human beings as well, but it's not. You don't use it for human beings. Those are titles that Chachamim were Mesakin to use for the Eibishter. And they're names that could be erased. They're still names that could be erased because it refers to expressions of Hashem in lower worlds. It doesn't refer to the essence of Hashem. That's how Rabbi Yossi views the name Tzvois as well, in that category. Now the Rebbe adds another very important point. The whole the point of this Maamar is to bring the Achdus that exists in Atzilus here in Biyah. How is that accomplished? How could you reveal the Achdus in Biyah like it's in Atzilus? You have to draw and reveal from a very high place. And the Rebbe adds another detail, was heißt from a very high place. You have to draw from a place that's even higher than Torah. As Torah was revealed in the time period of Moshe. Because by Moshe, Torah was revealed, but the effect of Moshe and his generation was limited. Because Moshe Rabbeinu took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim and gave them Torah. But where did they experience life for the 40 years with Moshe Rabbeinu? In a midbar, surrounded with Anani Yaakov. They were secluded from the rest of society. They didn't enter into a land in Eretz Yisrael and deal with the physical existence of the world the way we deal with it today. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, although he drawed Torah into the world, but the kayach of Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu brought had a limited effect. Masha'en came later generations, which are l'chayra on a lower level than Moshe. You come to the Nevi'im, they don't have the Pnei Chama like Moshe. They don't have the direct revelation of Moshe. Especially you come into the Nevi'im Achrayim, you come into this Zman HaGolus, certainly not as great as Moshe. Nevertheless, the Rebbe here says that we, through our Avodah, are accomplishing and bringing the Achdus of Hashem into lower elements of existence. Into Golos, into the entire world. Yidden are scattered around the lower world. It must be that Yidden have a koyach today to draw from a higher source than in the Zman of Moshe Rabbeinu himself. That's the Chiddush. Right? So the point is, this is what we learned in last year's Maamar, but this is true always in Chassidus, that if you want to bring something lower, if you want to affect a lower place, you have to draw from a higher source. So the fact that Yidden could reveal the emes of the Eibishter in the world, and in the world itself, in the mitzias of the world itself, that's by drawing from a higher place. It's like it says, B'negeya to Yisra Nar Mitoich HaChoshech. A greater light comes from darkness. There's a few pirushim in that. One of the pirushim is, when you could discover the truth of what Choshech really is about, when you could discover the source of Choshech, the same Eibishter that created Oir and has a great positive source, also created Choshech. To discover the emes of Choshech itself takes a much deeper source. To discover the emes of Oir in a place where there's light, so you can draw from Giluyim L'mayla, from various levels of revelations. Sorry. But to be megala the emes of Choshech, gam Choshech layachshich mimcha, and that Oir and Choshech are all the same by the Eibishter, and there's no Maila that Oir has over Choshech because they both equally come from the essence of Hashem. You have to draw from a much higher source for that. It's the same thing over here. In order to reveal the emes of the Eibishter in Biyah, that's only possible if you draw from a Mokim Elyon B'Yaiser, from a very high place.
Maybe you can say Rabbi Yossi is actually in a higher level
than the Tanakama.
Saying it's even in the chambers that they can erase.
Even going to a lower level, possibly. Yeah, but again, so this two chedushim that the Rebbe just said here. Mimokim Elyon B'Yaiser, and then the Rebbe says Shenai Legam B'Chinas HaTeira, higher than Teira. The Rebbe now proves this. Shari B'Teira Linis Geshem Tzvais, in Teira, as great as the Giluyim in Teira are. The name Tzvais is not mentioned there. Hainu Shamitzad B'Chinas HaTeira, the revelation of the level of Teira. Ha'inyin D'Viyu V'Gar Moyachad Hurak B'Atzilus. The revelation of Teira only reaches into Atzilus, which includes also Olam Hazeh, in the reality of Atzilus in Olam Hazeh. When you're surrounded by Anani Yaakov in Olam Hazeh, that's a reality of Atzilus. In order to bring the Achdus of the Eibishter into the world of Biyah as well, you have to draw from a higher place, even higher than the source of Torah. So now the Hemshech of this Maamar, Ches, Tes, Yud, the Rebbe will explain, so what is it that's higher than the source of Torah? And how could you draw from higher than the source of Torah? What exactly is the Avodah to draw higher than a Yid's Avodah in this world is to be Mekayim Torah and Mitzvahs. So our entire Avodah is to bring the light of Torah and Mitzvahs into the world. But over here we're saying we have to draw from a place that's higher even than Torah. What is that Avodah that draws higher than Torah?
Why is it relevant to us? we're withdrawing from?
Huh?
Why is it relevant to us?
Because the objective of our Aveda now is to bring the Achdus of the Eibishter into Biyah, into the lowest elements of the world. And in order to be able to accomplish that, it's not enough to draw from the energy of Torah. You have to draw from a higher source. So what's that source? Where are we drawing from? What exactly is the kind of Aveda that makes this possible to draw from a place that's even higher than Torah, to be able to affect and reach a place that's even lower than the Torah itself? Look, here, let me add one clarification. Torah Bemis has no limitation. It's an interesting chiddush the Rebbe is saying. When you see the Rebbe says here that there's something that's higher than Torah, and you could draw from even higher than Torah, the emphasis is Torah reaches everywhere. There's no matziv in the world that Torah doesn't have an opinion about, and Torah doesn't give a person an instruction how to conduct himself, especially if you're following the English here that we learn here. So we're learning the Gemara Brachas, all kinds of halachas regarding situations when a person has to deal with dirt, and today's the last sugi we're going to learn about this. The lowest situations that a person is found in, Torah has an opinion about every single moment in every situation, the lowest place in a person's life. But here's the point. Torah says and speaks to a person from the perspective of Torah and sees every reality as another prat of how to fulfill what Torah wants. Torah doesn't recognize that there's an existence outside of Torah. And there, that existence itself expresses the unity of Hashem. From the perspective of Torah, as much as when a person is sitting in front of a sefer, in front of a siddur, he's davening and he's doing a holy thing, when a yid is busy with the lowest of lowest things, and there Torah gives him guidance how to conduct himself, so it's also in the reality of Torah. As far as Torah is concerned, you're always in the world of Torah. Right? It's like the Al Derech, the famous word that the Rebbe says, from the perspective of Torah, it's not the pshat that I exist and I have an arm and I have a head, and now Torah comes and gives me a directive, put on the tefillin on your arm and put on the tefillin on your head. No, it's fakert. In the world of Torah, Torah has its objective and its world, that the tefillin has to be placed in the right place. And in order for the tefillin to be placed in the right place, you have to have an arm, you have to have a head, in order you're the prop where the fulfillment of Torah's will and Torah's reality gets done. It never recognizes any reality outside of Torah. So when the Rebbe here says that Torah has a limitation how far it reaches, it doesn't mean just in the simple sense that Torah doesn't penetrate all levels. It does. Torah penetrates everything ad asof. Torah is bli gvul. But it all remains in the reality of Torah. To reveal how the Welt itself, the Etzem Metzias of the Welt itself, says, Einoid Mulvadai, that you could see within the Metzias of the Welt itself, the Magodla Masecha, the Maraba Masecha, that's something else. That you draw from a deeper source that's higher than Torah, that could reveal that. That's what the Rebbe is saying here.
Yeah, but you see the Indian, if you don't watch the Vasa, you don't learn Torah.
Yeah.
So you see that there's a place where Torah...
That itself is a hirah from Torah. So that's al derech the part we learned yesterday. When a person has made a glayim and he can't daven, so he's fulfilling the hirah of Torah. You see the story of Rabbi Melech and Rabbi Zusha that danced in the prison, right? They couldn't daven. So that's all. It's Torah. There's no moment in a person's life, including when a person sleeps. How should he lie when he sleeps? We learned that in the Gemara as well. Everything, every single moment of a person's life is a place where Torah is.
Maybe also the point of the following is that at the end of the 20 parkim of the whole Maamar says that the whole thing is Yerida Tzorach Aliyah, that the whole Yerida was that the neshama should go.
Okay, so let's see what it says. Let's see what it says. The Hamshech. So here's the point. The Rebbe doesn't come immediately to the point. It'll only be in the end of Eis Yud. But when the Rebbe here says that you're drawing from a place that's higher than Torah, what the Rebbe is aiming for, and what we'll see, it's not very, the Hemshech of the Maamar from here on is not very clear. But l'chayre, where the Rebbe is going to is, what's taka higher than Torah? What's higher than Torah is the Sheidish of Neshamas Yisrael. There's the famous Medrash that says that there are two things that are called Mulaylam, Yidden and Torah. And then the Medrash continues, and Mimehem Kadam, and the Medrash concludes, Yidden are higher. Because when you look in Torah, it says, Tzavas b'nei Yisrael, Daber el b'nei Yisrael. So the whole Torah is being said for the purpose of Yidden, meaning that Yidden are the main thing, Yidden are before, and Torah is a direction and guidance to Yidden. So when the Rebbe here says that we're drawing from a place which is higher than Torah, it refers to the Sheidish of Neshamas Yisrael. And the Rebbe will now explain how does a Yid reveal the Sheidish of his Neshama here in this world. Of course, the Yid's Neshama has a very, very high Sheidish, but in this world, The neshama comes through many, many levels of a yirida, and it lives in a guf, in a nefsha bahamis, and it's a big aveda to be able to reveal the shaydish of that neshama. How do you reveal the shaydish of that neshama? That's one question. The other question is, what's the difference between the effect of Torah and the effect of the neshama? The effect of Torah is wherever it comes, it doesn't recognize that existence. It just, the Torah like comes in and is mavatal everything. The Torah has its opinion and guidance. Torah doesn't recognize the existence of anything. It has a guidance for everything. Torah sees everything within its world. It doesn't recognize any existence outside of itself. By Neshamas Yisrael, it's different. When you reveal a neshama, the neshama has the kayach to penetrate within the metzius, to recognize and discover the truth of Hashem in the metzius of the world. It's a different kayach a neshama has, as we'll see in the Hemshech of the Maamar. Let's see. So to draw from this very high place, this is through specifically the Aveda of refining the Gashmias of the world and elevating it to Hashem. So there's Torah mitzvahs. Now in Torah mitzvahs gufa, most times when a person does a mitzvah, there's a physical object involved. So the fact that the person takes a physical object and creates a mitzvah out of it is a birur. But there are certain mitzvahs where there is no direct birur at least. There are certain mitzvahs that don't involve a physical object. Amunas Hashem, Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, and so on. Although it says in other places that the organs of the person's body, the moyach and the leiv, is the physical object of the mitzvah. But still, it's not the same to a regular mitzvah where you refine a physical object and elevate it. But when the Rebbe says Avedis HaBirurim, of course, the Rebbe is speaking in a broader sense that includes everything a person does during the day. The eating, the drinking, the sleeping, the business, the conversations. Whatever a person does in the day, if he does it l'shem shamayim, if he does it b'chol d'rachecha de'eyu, so then he's refining and elevating every part of his day. So Avedis HaBirurim includes the interaction with the Gashmias and doing it with the proper kavana, with the proper purpose, and then you bring holiness and you elevate the Gashmias into Ruchnias. That's the Aveda that draws higher than the Etzem Torah mitzvahs. This doesn't exclude Torah mitzvahs, but it's a different prat of it, it's a different focus. We're not talking just about the inyan of Torah mitzvahs to fulfill Ratzon Hashem in the Torah mitzvahs, but we're talking about the fact that a Yid interacts and elevates Gashmias. Hine Yidu Torah Baal Shem Tov. There's a well-known word of the Baal Shem Tov, Shebechol Dov Asher Nimtza B'Reshusei Shel Yisrael, that anything that's found in the possession of Yidden, Yeshnom Nitzaitzin Kedoshim, there are holy sparks. And the Baal Shem Tov adds that we know that everything in the world has holy sparks. So whatever a person has and deals with, he elevates. But here the Baal Shem Tov adds, Hashayachim l'shayrish nishmasai, which are related to the shayrish of your neshama. If there's something that you have in your possession, or something that you come in contact with, it's because this is something that's shaykh to the shayrish of your neshama. Which, even before we go weiter, there's a very powerful message right there, that the person looks at what he has and the person looks at what someone else has. What you have to know is you're never going to get more than what's bashert and what's intended, because whatever is shaykh to the shayrish of your neshama, the Eibishter gives you or allows you to come in contact with in order that your neshama should elevate it. What's not shaykh to the shayrish of your neshama, you can tanzen and springen from the dach. It's not going to help you. It's not shaykh to the shayrish of the person's neshama, and he will not have the shaykhs to it to be able to elevate it. Okay, so that's the word of the Baal Shem Tov. And if chas v'shalom a person is stealing something, and that's really what the shayrish of the idea. Al piruchnis hanyonim. Why there's a problem of gneva? Besides the fact that a gneva is a issa ben adam lachavere, of course, but it's also a problem ben adam lamakim. Because when a person is stealing, what it means is this belonged to someone else's shayrish hanashama, and he was supposed to elevate this. And when you elevate it, you're not elevating it. It's a mitzvah ba'averi. You cannot elevate the holy spark that's there. So you're not allowing this thing to have its bitter, to get elevated to its source. That's what's shaykh to one person's shayrish neshama. That's what's shaykh to another person's shayrish neshama. So there's no point in geneva. And there's also this teaches a person how not to be jealous, not to whatever is intended for a person to have from the moment he's born, or like the Gemara says, from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, a person, the Elgish gives a person his mezainis, or in the morning when he davens, and the Elgish listens to his tefillah and gives him what he needs for that day. That's shaykh to the shayrish of his neshama, not a penny more and not a penny less.
So how did the Alter Rebbe change the time for the Magid?
The what? He what?
The time for the Magid? And the Maggid's son, and he learned in Chablusim.
Yeah, okay. So that's a different Indian. Okay, let's go weiter. Now with this, the Baal Shem Tov explains that the Torah has tremendous mercy, the word is, or the Torah is very, very careful with money that belongs to Yidden. Although it's only money. There are different incidents in the Gemara. I think there's the story with Rabbi Yochanan when he was walking in a place where there were thorns and it was difficult to walk there, so he picked up his garment and he walked through, and he got bloody from walking through in these thorns and bushes, but he wanted to protect his garment. So you think to yourself, a garment is replaceable, but your body, why are you hurting yourself walking in such a place? So Rabbi Yochanan, I believe it's Rabbi Yochanan, he said that the money, the garment is more important even than my body. It's an unbelievable thing. A Tana speaks this way. His money is more important than his own body. This is his priorities in life. Elamai, the answer is because he sees the ruchnias. He sees the godly sparks that there are in that garments, and that he knows that's a shlichus in this world, and that's shaykh to the shayrish of his neshama, and that's what he has to elevate. So therefore, that's something that he wants to protect. That if his garment is going to get ruined, it won't be useful, and he will have to throw it out. And he knew that this is a garment that he has to wear to use to be able to daven with it and learn Torah with it and elevate it. That's the reason why he was careful with his garment. Chavivim aleim yaisim megufan, exactly the same, similar thing, right? So it's only their money, but it's not only money. That's the point. It's nishnar geld. Since the money, the possessions, v'chein shari dvarim. Who shall Yisrael is a Yid, it's Yiddish money, it's Yiddish geld, it's a Yiddish object. Zemayre, what this shows is, and the Rebbe adds that the basis of this is the idea of the Baal Shem Tov Kochzechin, the idea of Hashgacha Pratis, the fact that it became mine, the fact that I came with in contact with this is Hashgacha Pratis, and therefore what it proves is Shenitzaitzis Elu Shayachim L'Shayrish Shmasai, that these sparks are connected to the source of my neshama. It's related to this individual. It's not just in general that the world has a lot of nitzaitis out there, and the nitzaitis are not shaykh to anybody. That's how you would think. Without this word of the Baal Shem Tov, the concept of bitter on nitzaitis is brought in Sifrei Kabbalah. It's not the Baal Shem Tov's Chiddush. But Pashtus, you understand, there are reish pei ches nitzaitis out there in the world. In general, there are many more if you subdivide it. And the Yid has to come and find it. And a Yid has a mazel to be in a place where no other Yid was there, and he makes a bracha in that place, and he could elevate a holy spark that's been waiting thousands of years to be elevated. But the nitzaitis has no shaykhs to anybody. They're ownerless. But the Baal Shem Tov is saying, no, that's not the case. If it's yours, or even not necessarily your possession, if you come to a place and you come in contact with it, because it's your nitzitz, it's shaykh to the shayrish of your neshama. It's part of your aveda. And here the Baal Shem Tov added another nekuda, which is the punchline that the Rebbe wants to bring out from the Svart of the Baal Shem Tov. By refining them and elevating them to their source, this brings an elevation to the person himself as well. Legani, where are we? Oizayin, Oizches, Basi Legani Tav Shemem. Yeah, we're in the beginning of Oizches. So the last point we learned yesterday, it's on page Lamed Vav. The last point we learned yesterday was the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, very powerful word of the Baal Shem Tov. The fact that a person has whatever possessions the Elgish gives him, whatever money he has, is because those things have holy sparks in them. And then the Baal Shem Tov adds, those holy sparks specifically are shayach l'shayrish nishmasai. And when one is mavarer, those nitzaitzis, what happens is, besides the fact, so there's two things that happen here. That was the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov. I didn't get a chance to spell it out yesterday. Besides the fact that he's elevating the sparks to their source, which is one very important objective, he also then reveals more the shayrish of his neshama. It adds an advantage and a level to the shayrish of his neshama. Right? Because these sparks are connected to the shayrish of his neshama. What does that mean they're connected to the shayrish of his neshama? They somehow have a shaykhis to revealing, to helping a yid bring out the essence of his neshama. So when you elevate those sparks, besides the fact that now the sparks are returned to the right place, the shaydish of the neshama of the yid experiences a great aliyah. And that second point, that it's the neshama of the yid that experiences an aliyah, is the main point that's negaya here to the hemshech of the Maamar. The concept of avodas habirurim is something that's spoken about in many, many places in Chassidus. But over here, the Rebbe doesn't quote from any of the hundreds of Maimarim that discuss avodas habirurim. He's specifically discussing the Vart of the Baal Shem Tov, because the Baal Shem Tov is mechadish that the avodas habirurim in the Welt, in the objects and the things in the world, relates back to the person. It elevates the person, and specifically the shaydish of your neshama, to a higher place. That's the chiddush here.
So they decided for a base ratios that everything is for the sake of the Yidz.
That's about the world in general.
But the Tzutzim bring the Tzutzim get an aliyah because that they have created for that sake.
Okay.
But there's a different thing. The idea of...
Yeah, it seems like there's another point over here. Okay, yeah, you're making a good point. You're saying that the world in general has been created b'shvil Yisrael.
Right.
Which basically means that whatever a Yid does in the world in general, whatever happens in the world, is all for the sake of Yidden. So that's true about the world in general. Yeah, and Al-Khanami. But the Baal Shem Tov seems to be saying something further over here. It's not just the world in general is created for Yidden, but the specific possessions that Hashem gives you. And the avodah that the Yid does to elevate those possessions, that is specifically to give the Yid a way how to reveal his neshama in the world. So let's ask the question another way. How does a Yid reveal his neshama in this world when his neshama is stuck in prison? It's in an exile, it's in a guf, it's in an Nefesh Bahamas, he has to deal with an ego, there's so many coverings over the guf. How do you reveal the neshama? So of course there's davening, there's learning, there's doing mitzvahs, there's learning Chassidus, there's all kinds of things that reveal your neshama. The Baal Shem Tov says, you want to reveal your neshama, there's another way. Avodas habirurim. If you do what Hashem wants of you and you're mavada to the world, and specifically those things that you're coming in contact with, they are shaykh to your neshama, they will reveal the essence of your neshama. Yeah. You're going to be mavada to this tea now.
The Ezra was the question. They were Ezra. I feel that the Lashon Rabbim, it says that it's something helped the Yid. It says.
Not that one.
It said you were among my helpers.
Oh, Avaya Liba Oizroi. Yes, exactly. Oh, that's a very good point. That sounds similar to what it says here. When a Yid is Mevar Netzaitis, those Netzaitis become his Oizrim. They help him in his Avedis Hashem. Okay, it's a similar point, but here it seems like it goes further. That's something that's easier to understand. When a person is dealing with Gashmias, and you deal with Gashmias without any meaning or purpose, so what happens? The Gashmias drags you into it, and it becomes eventually a quicksand, and you fall into the Chumrias and the Grobkeit of the Welt. When you deal with Gashmias and you're doing it with purpose and meaning, and you're revealing the holy sparks, there you're connecting to the essence of Hashem or to the sparks that are there, so then that becomes an assistance for a person to be focused, and the sparks, the holy sparks, assist a person and guide a person, help a person in everything he does. That's something that's easier to understand. Here the Baal Shem Tov is saying even something further than that, right? Here the Baal Shem Tov is saying that those holy sparks that you're dealing with are shaykh to the shayrish of your neshama. They reveal the shayrish of your neshama. Which l'chayra does need an additional explanation. How and why are sparks that are in the world that we know, where do these holy sparks come from? Shviris HaKelim. Shviris HaKelim of Toyu, whatever that means, we're not going to get into the details right now, but the source of the sparks comes from a very high place in Toyu, and it fell down in a very low place in this world, and they're stuck in a place which is very, very disconnected, and then the Yid comes along, does a mitzvah with this object, eats something and drinks something, l'shem shamayim, he elevates those holy sparks. Okay? Sounds like they're going back to the source. Well, somehow those sparks are connected to the shayrish of the Yid's neshama, and they help reveal the shayrish of the Yid's neshama. Let's see the continuation. The Rebbe doesn't clearly explain this in you, but this is the chiddush that it's saying here. So we are in the Maamar, the K'moi Kain, right. The first word on the line is Lashar Sham. The K'moi Kain haya begolas Mitzrayim. So just as the Baal Shem Tov says this word. regarding the Aveda of Yidden in this world. So this is what takes place in Golus Mitzrayim. Through the fact that Yidden emptied out Mitzrayim, this week's Parsha, yesterday's Chumash, that the Yidden went and borrowed whatever they could and took all kinds of precious items, and gold and silver from the Mitzrayim, to the point that they turned Mitzrayim into a Metzula, which is the depth of the ocean, where it's empty of any fish. So they turned Mitzrayim into an empty place of all the holy sparks. And like a trap, which is usually filled with grain, to attract birds or whoever it is that you want to trap in it. So they emptied out Mitzrayim from any of the grain that was there. And the Rebbe now spells out this lashon of the Gemara, as it says in many places. They refined and elevated the sparks that are related to the concealed world, which is the example of Kimitzula Shein Badogim, a deep ocean that there's no fish there, an ocean which is covered, like Alma de Iskasya, a higher level of sparks that relate to Alma de Iskasya. And the Yidden also elevated the sparks back to their source, those sparks that are related to the revealed world. Kimitsuda Shein Badogan, like a trap with grain in it that's on the dry land. This brought a greater advantage. This elevated Yidden to a greater level, more than they were before. Right? So it's not only that the Yidden left Mitzrayim and the Yidden took along it says Gam Erev Rav Oleitam means they took along 202 of the 248 Netzaitzes, 288 Netzaitzes, but the Yidden also experienced a great Aliyah coming out of Mitzrayim. As it says it in other places clearly, that Yitzias Mitzrayim, or actually Golus Mitzrayim, was a preparation for Yidden for Matan Torah. It was like a Kor HaBarzel, where you take the silver that's dirty and you put it into a hot fire in order to purify it and to prepare it, and that it should be able to be used as a beautiful piece of silver. So the Yidden Mitzrayim, it was a purification process and an elevation process for themselves. So there was a double objective of Golus Mitzrayim, to elevate all the sparks of Mitzrayim, and also this was the process to create Yidden into a nation and to bring them to Matan Torah. So we see it even in the simple pshat of the psukim. So over here the Rebbe says, this Dvar to the Baal Shem Tov, that when a Yid is mevar and itzaitis, it brings a maila to the Yid himself, it elevates the Yid himself. You see this by Golus Mitzrayim and by Yitzias Mitzrayim. This is also an inyan that the Rebbe Marash explains in a Maamar at length. So Pare sends the nation, the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. So the Rebbe Marash says, he sent along with them branches. Pares is also branches, with softer branches. It's like the branches of a vineyard, which are spread around and extends into the field. So Pares sent along with the Yidden, Pares va'anofim, branches, va'oise peiri, which creates peiris, which creates fruits, whether grapes or anything else, l'maylo esa'om, to elevate the Yidden higher than the level that they were on before. So it seems to be a play on words, but I'm not sure if that's the kavanah here. Paroi, which is spelled with an ayin, so it says Vahi b'shalach paroi esa'am. So it doesn't only mean that paroi, the person paroi, sent the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, but paroi with an aleph would refer to soft branches, young branches. I believe that's the taich. So Vahi b'shalach paroi esa'am, that these branches that grow fruits on them were sent along with the Yidden. The point being that when Yidden come out of Mitzrayim, they are elevated to a higher level through the experience of Golus Mitzrayim. Shal Yidei hanitzaitis shebiru begolus Mitzrayim, through the sparks that the Yidden elevated in Golus Mitzrayim, nase bohem toisvis v'ribui. This it brings to the Yidden a higher level. It's added to them more revelation, and it brings them to a higher place. So again, the point of here is not just the bitter on itzaitis. The emphasis here is the benefit that Yidden have from this, the level that Yidden are able to reveal within themselves, their neshama, a higher level that they reach through this. This is also what it says regarding the Avodah of Yidden in this world. Gabe Golus Mitzrayim. It's written regarding Golus Mitzrayim, Uzrati Ali Ba'aretz, that the Yidden are planted in the land. So the Golus is compared to planting. What's the mashal of planting? So simply the pshat is Yidden are uprooted from their holy land, from the place where they are supposed to be, and they're put down, they're planted in a place outside of their home. But Chassidus teaches, what does the expression of zriya mean? In Zriya, the idea of planting, hukamai merazal, like the Gemara says, klum odam zerei yakor. Would a person plant a core, certain measurement, just for the purpose that he could then reap the benefit of his planting that'll have that same core, that same measurement? Of course not. Ella, the only purpose is, he plants a certain amount of seeds only in order that it should grow much more than what he planted. So what does that mean over here regarding the fact that Yidden are planted in Golus? Hainud, Mashi Yisrael, Nizru beGolus Mitzrayim. The fact that Yidden are planted in Golus Mitzrayim, Hu B'Shvil, HaHisafe Shenasa Behem Al Yidei Birid Anitzaitzis. It's because through the experience of Golus, the Yidden themselves will experience a Hisafe by elevating the sparks. Not only are they accomplishing something, right? If the point merely was that the Yidden themselves gain nothing, but the Yidden themselves are sort of just the agents of Hashem to come to that place, and Yidden have to go to every place of the world ultimately to do the shlichus and the aveda of Hashem, to bring holiness to every place, to elevate the sparks of Hashem that are in every place of the world. If that was the point, but the Yidden themselves gain nothing, so why do we say that the Yidden are being planted? The Yidden are being sent as messengers, as shluchim, to go wherever they are in the world. But why planted? Planted means that they themselves, Yidden themselves, gain from this process as well, that it reveals the shayrish of their neshama. As the Rabbi Marash explains in the Maimah there, certain details about the what's increased by Yidden through elevating the sparks in this world. This is the Avodas HaBirurim. That's Negeya, again, the connection, the flow of the Maimah here. This is all to explain how we can bring the same achdus of Iyu v'Garmoy Echad in Biyah similar to the way it is in Atzilus. So the Rebbe is saying that this Hamshacha happens through Avodas HaBirurim. It's not very clear what the connection is over here. In other words, it seems like, let's look again. The beginning of the Ois. V'hinei Hamshachazu. What are those two words? Hamshachazu. Hamshachazu refers to what he said in the previous Ois, that we're going to bring the Achdus of Iyu v'Garmoy Echad in Biyah. That Hamshacha is created through Avodas HaBirurim. Then what does the Rebbe go on to say in the rest of the Ois? The Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, the Torah of the Rebbe Marash, and what's the focus of what they're speaking about? That when a Yid is Mevarer Birurim in this world, it elevates the Yid to a higher level. It reveals the shayrish of the neshama of the Yid. How is that connected to the beginning of the Yais? The first line where we're talking about Hamshachazu, to bring the Achdus of Hashem, Iyu v'Chayei Echad, Iyu v'Garmoy Echad, and Biyah. Maybe you want to talk about the Birurim themselves, the fact that you reveal the sparks of Hashem and you elevate the sparks of Hashem. Maybe that's the inyan of the Hamshacha of Iyu v'Garmoy Echad and Biyah. But that's not what the Rebbe is emphasizing in this ice. So the flow of the Hamshacha and Yonimir is not very clear. So I believe the Pshara and the Maimer is that the Rebbe did not finish his point yet. This is all still an introduction. The conclusion of the point comes in Ois Tes. Okay? So I'm just clarifying this because I've seen and heard other people learning the Pshat and the Maimer here. Hamshacha zu hi al yidei avodas habirurim. The Hamshacha is the avodas habirurim, which means if you mevarer the nitzaitzis, that is revealing the Achdus of Hashem in Biyah. But it's not. I don't think that's the Pshat, because just because you reveal the nitzaitzis, that is not similar to the point of revealing the Iyu v'Garmoy Echad in Biyah like in Atzilus. I explained already yesterday, a few days ago, the point of revealing the Achdus of Hashem in Biyah like Atzilus is a much bigger chiddush. It's not just about being mevarer nitzaitzis. When you mevarer nitzaitzis, it doesn't change the premise of reality that the Welt is a nifrad and the world operates kaviyachol outside of Hashem. And it's not like an Atzilus. Yeah, you reveal the holy sparks. There's an Aveda of Yidden here, but it doesn't accomplish that to bring the Achdus of Hashem in the world Kamay Batzilus. So Avedas HaBirurim is not enough for that. There's another point that I was saying here. The Avedas HaBirurim reveals the shayrish of who a Yid is. And that will lead into the point that the Rebbe will explain. When you reveal the shayrish of the Yid, that's able to accomplish the Iva Garmoyachad, which goes back to the point that the Rebbe said before, that we have to draw from a place which is higher than Torah. What are we drawing from which is higher than Torah? The Sheidish of the Neshama of a Yid. When you reveal the Sheidish of the Neshama of a Yid and you bring that into this world, that is what creates the Achdus of Hashem in Biyah, like an Atzilus. That's the flow of the Maimah here.
That's what he's saying, Sofa in Yisrael, which is in the Shamas Yisrael. Sofa in the Shamas Yisrael, meaning that even higher than what they're up there in the Sheidish. That's
correct.
So that's the Atzilus.
Higher than
Atzilus.
Higher than Atzilus, higher than the Sheidish of the Neshamas Yisrael. Correct. Yeah. That's the flow here.
But if the point is to elevate the world, then the Chorah should be the Shorish of the Guf.
Are you sure the point is to elevate the world?
Or to reveal godliness, the world is godliness.
Okay, right. That's the point. The point is to bring the Eibishter into the world, into the Metzias of the world itself. Just like the very Metzias of Atzilus is one with Hashem, to bring that Achdus Hashem into Biyah in the same way, to the same extent. That's the Chiddush over here. And that is accomplished only through Yidden and not through Torah. I explained this by Arichas yesterday, that Torah, although Torah is unlimited, Torah does not have the ability to reach to that extent. Dafka the Avodah of Yidden and to be Megala, the Sheidish of the Shamas Yisrael, could accomplish that.
Well, why not the Shorish of the Guf?
Possibly. That's not in this Maimer. The Sheidish of a Guf is a different Indian. Yeah, it's also a great Indian. Okay, let's see weiter in Ois Test. We have some time. Another question? Yes.
The metaphor of the Zerah is very
yes,
Zriya. A lot of part of the Zerah rots away. So in Gullus, a lot of the Yidden unfortunately assimilated. It becomes part of the earth.
That's part of the process, you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to the Psukim that the Rebbe began with towards the beginning of the Maimer. On this day, so this is Chumash, maybe even today's Chitas. No, not yet. So it was in the middle of this day. On Tesvav Nisan. So the legions of Hashem come out of Mitzrayim. And in another pasuk it says, later on, in the same Perek, but later all the way at the end of the Perek there, it says, Vayihi be'etzem hayom hazeh hoitzi avaya. Es b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim al tzavaisam. The Eibishter took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim in their legions. So this is something that I saw a few days ago, that Rishonim ask, why is the Torah repeating the same thing again? If you look there in the Parsha, it's a long kapitel. So the first pasuk, I believe, is in pasuk Mem Aleph, and then the next pasuk, La'achrik Zeksiv, is in pasuk Nun Aleph. And when you look there in pasuk Nun Aleph, it's just a pasuk which seems to be totally repetitious and extra. It already said the whole story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, that the Eibishter took Yidden out of Mitzrayim. Then again, at the conclusion of the whole story, again, and it was on this day that the Eibishter took Yidden out of Mitzrayim. What's the repetition of the pasuk? That's one point. And then there's another thing, there's a difference in one detail of the pasuk that the Rebbe focuses on. What's the difference? In the first pasuk it says, Tzivais Havaya, and in the second pasuk it says, Al Tzivaisam. Right? So the Yidden are referred to a little bit of a different term. And if you remember what we learned earlier in the Maimer, there's Tzivais Havaya, where the word Tzivais is not an independent word, but it's connected to Havaya. And then there's Tzva Ois. When Yidden are referred to as Tzva Ois, they are the legions, which is a separate word for itself. So over here it does not say Tzva Ois, but it basically says that in the plural term. Al Tziv Oisam, which is the word Tzva Ois alone without connecting it to Havaya. So those are two different levels in the Avodah of the Yid. The Rebbe will now explain that the 2 points that we saw before regarding Avodas HaBirurim, that there are two things that are accomplished in Avodas HaBirurim. Number one, the Yidden are the one that create the Birurim in the world and elevate the world. Number two, the Yidden themselves experience a great aliyah through this. It reveals the sheidish of their neshama. Those are the two things that the pasuk is saying here, and those are the two psukim. It's not a repetition. Let's see. Tzivos Havaya, in the first pasuk where it says Tzivos Havaya, Lashon Samoch, that the Tzivos, the Yidden, are connected and are secondary to Havaya. Heima Tzvois shen isbareru begolos Mitzrayim, v'nis alo likolol b'shem Havaya. This refers to Tzvois, to all the legions of sparks of godliness that were in Mitzrayim, and the Yidden elevated them and brought them to be included and one with Havaya, and therefore Shalachain Nikra Tzivos Havaya. So therefore we use the term Tzivos Havaya, Lefishem Tfeilim Smuchim V'Nechlalim B'Shem Havaya, because this is telling you the process of Avodas Habirurim, which is taking sparks that have been separated of their source and have been isolated and have been exiled in whichever place that they're in, and you're reconnecting them and you're bringing them all together to be included in Shem Havaya. So the Yidden are referred to as Tzivos Havaya, the legions of Hashem, which is connected to the Avodah that they're doing, because Yidden are accomplishing Tzivos Havaya by taking all the many sparks and connecting them back to Havaya. So because of the Avodah that Yidden do, that they elevate these sparks, so Gam Yisrael Nikra Tzivos Havaya. The Yidden also have the name Tzivos Havaya. So Tzivos Havaya refers to two different things. Tzivos Havaya refers to the sparks, and Tzivos Havaya also refers to the Yidden. The Yidden get that title based on the Avodah that they do. It's interesting, there's a medrash that the Rebbe brought in the Maamar Basi Legani Tafshin Chof, that the reason why the Torah repeats it again, there the Rebbe said a different point. Because when the Yidden came out of Mitzrayim, the Medrash says there were many malachim that came out of Mitzrayim together with the Yidden. So when it says the first time Tzivos Havaya, it refers to malachim, and then the second time it says al tzivaisam, it refers to the Yidden themselves. So over here the Rebbe is saying a similar pshat. When Yidden came out of Mitzrayim, they were coming out of Mitzrayim along with many holy sparks. So the first pasuk, when it says Tzivos Havaya, it refers really to the holy sparks that they're bringing out with them. And the Yidden are getting that title based on the Avodah and what they're bringing along with them. That's the first time. Now then, you say to Mizu, now there's something even greater that happens here, and this is the second pasuk. Hoitzi Havayas b'nei Yisrael al tzivaisam. So over here, the Torah that Rebbe emphasizes the word al tzivaisam. So the pshat, what is the pshat of al tzivaisam? So the simple pshat of the word al over here does not mean above or on top of. That's not the simple pshat of al here. But the Rebbe is teaching al in the simple meaning, which means above, to go higher. Al tzivaisam means huzeh. This is referring to the second point. She'Yisrael hem l'mayla mebchinas hanitzaitzis shenis bararu. The nitzaitzis help a yid when a person is mavad nitzaitzis. It helps a yid reveal the shaydish of his neshama, and the shaydish of his neshama is higher than the nitzaitzis themselves. The being mavad nitzaitzis is a trigger to help a yid reveal his neshama. And once you reveal the neshama of a yid, the neshama of a yid is much higher than any of these nitzaitzis. It's above all of them. Al tzivaisam. Now here the Rebbe adds another line to prove the point that Yidden must be higher than the sparks themselves. What's the proof for this? If the Yidden are the ones that have the ability to reveal these sparks and elevate these sparks, they must be higher than the sparks themselves. There's the famous expression of the Gemara, a prisoner can't free himself. So if you're in the same place where the sparks are, you don't have a connection to a higher level than the sparks themselves. How could the Yidden elevate those sparks? So it must be that the shaydish of the Yidden are higher than the sparks themselves. And so therefore when the Yidden reveal the sparks and reconnect them back to their source, this itself reveals within the Yidden their true source, which is higher than the sparks, which is the second point and the main thing that the Rebbe emphasized in the previous ice, that Bidur HaNitzaitzis is not just for the benefit of the Nitzaitzis or for the benefit of elevating the world, but it reveals within the Yid a much greater level within him. So this is the connection, going back now to the third inyan that there is in the title Tzvais, which is of course the Eibishter himself. The Eibishter is the one that's called Tzvais. So v'zu yashayches Hashem tzvoi, the tzvoi savai that is va'al tzevaisam l'Hashem tzvoi. This is the connection of the two titles that the Torah says here regarding Yidden. The first title of Tzivos Havaya referring to the Avodah of Yidden to elevate the sparks. The second title referring to the fact that Yidden, this reveals the shaydish of the neshamas of Yidden that's even higher than the sparks. This is all connected to the title of the Eibishter himself, the name Tzvais. They avoid the bitter anitzaitis v'hiskalalusam ba'avaya, through the avodah of Yidden to elevate the sparks, and that they should be included in avaya, tzivais avaya, which is the first point. And then the second point, Shal Yidei Avoid Zunasim Yisrael Al Tzivaisam, that this elevates and reveals the Shayrish of Yidden that are even higher than the sparks themselves. So then comes a third point. Then comes a third point here. Is Hine Al Yidei Zeh Mamshichim Ribui Oir Mimakim Elyin B'Yaiser. When you reveal the Shayrish, the true Shayrish of the Neshama of a Yid, the Shayrish of the Neshama of a Yid is the highest place. It comes from the highest source within the very essence of Hashem, higher even than Torah. So through this, you can draw down Oir Mimakim Elyin B'Yaiser. You draw a revelation from an extremely high place, higher than the Torah that's revealed, that's given in this world. When you draw from the Shayrish of Yidden, it's even higher than that. And v'oir zeh, it's this oir of the Yidden, the Neshama of a Yid, by Keya as kol ha-persois v'ha-meschim, it breaks through all curtains and all coverings, sheben Atzilus lebiyah, that separate between Atzilus and Biyah, Achegam bibiyah nase ivegamoy chad kamoy batzilus. You're able to reveal the achdus of Hashem in the worlds of Biyah, similar to the way it is in Atzilus. So this is the conclusion of the Indian over here. So the point over here is that it's a 3-stage process. The Yidden are right in the center of all of it. That's the chiddush of this whole Indian. The Yidden are the cause of the bitter anitzaitis. So at the beginning of the process, the objective is to refine the world, to elevate the nitzaitis that are stuck there, and the Yidden are the ones that cause that. It's the first step of the process. But then, this itself elevates the Yidden themselves. They benefit from this, and the Yidden get elevated. The Shayrish of the Neshamas of Yidden is revealed. And then, the Yidden return, so to speak, to affect the world, to be able to bring the Achdus of the Eibushter back into the world. Because once you reveal the Shayrish of the Neshamas of Yidden, that influences and that elevates the world in a different way than Torah does. The effect that Torah has in the world is wherever Torah comes, it doesn't recognize any reality outside of Torah. The Neshama of a Yid has a greater power. The Neshama of a Yid is able to enter into an environment that's far into the Neshama, and it's able to so to speak, adapt to that environment. V'haraya, that's what the neshama does when it enters into a body. What does the neshama do when it enters into a body? It doesn't give any recognition to the existence of the body. Of course it does. The neshama becomes so unified with the body that when we see life in our body, we don't see two entities of the neshama and the body. We see it all as one. The neshama comes in and gets integrated and adapts and becomes part of the environment that it's in, and is able to reveal the true essence of the environment and the mitzias of the world itself, not by ignoring the place, not by overwhelming the place. Like when Torah comes somewhere, the Yidden are able to break through all boundaries and come into the place itself and reveal the Achdus of Hashem mitzad the Metzius itself, similar to the way it is in Atzilus. That's the word here. Okay.